energy flowing these last what is today, the 27th already.
Oh, goodness.
It's
Yeah.
already the 27th. Okay, we're just waiting on, and Twitch is always slow, so we're good. All right, so let me just make sure people are coming in. We've been getting really suppressed lately, big
Oh,
time. like
yeah,
like I
yeah.
haven't noticed it like this in a while. We've
Wow.
had a couple of spurts where they've been suppressing us, but in fact, we just got a message yesterday in the Soulogy group that they were going to deactivate the group because we,
What?
yeah, it was
You-
some
Yeah.
stupid.
Holy
Yeah,
gosh.
isn't that crazy?
That's what I thought you guys, like,
Yeah,
Agenda Pixie would be untouchable because of the spiritual woo woo side of it to most, but they're even now really threatened by that.
well, yeah. I mean, we don't have a lot of political discussions, political posts. I don't know what happened. They
Yeah.
wouldn't show me which post it was, but they said if your admins approve another one like this, we're going to deactivate. But if they deactivate, they deactivate. Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll
Right on.
just deal with it. Okay, so we got 25 people in the house. Welcome everybody on the live and on the replay. We're going to play our intro real quick. Be
Okay.
back in a minute and 19 seconds with a new friend, beautiful beloved sister, Taylor Jane Green. Be back in just a second. Oh, okay. What's happening, everybody? It's a little bit, waking up these mornings and being off planet. I think we're all really, really busy in what we call dream state. And yeah, I don't know. It's just been a really fast and furious last 10 days. We got a new friend here. I say that because we haven't had a conversation with her on the show. Taylor Jane Green, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming in and sharing space with us and honoring us with your presence. You mentioned something about uh, you're glad you went through with it. And like I said to you, I can't remember everything. I don't know if it's my 3D memory or my linear years, but I can't remember everything. I just remember the energy, and even that slight in this case, because there's been such an, we just been inundated with requests and messages, and that's all great, and we're not complaining at all. We'll get a handle on it. But so have you been on? Have you done videos? Have you been on a show before? Or?
Well, no, that's why I'm really happy I went through with this because this is my first interview. And of course, I want to say kudos to you. I've been watching you, listening for years, and especially really took in your Magenta Pixie and your Laura Eisenhower interviews. And so part of me thought, oh my gosh. And I
Right.
think the reason you asked me on was you saw my Instagram. I've got like over almost 4,000 videos on there
Oh,
that
you do?
regarding spirituality and the whole
Yes.
journey and yada yada. And I had one on where I was kind of channeling or pretending that I was Dolores Cannon speaking Matthias Di Stefano's Eighth Dimension on Gaia TV initiation series. And I think that's when you went, you know what?
I don't know. And to be honest with you, I don't. First of all, I never get on Instagram, so I
Right.
don't. I don't even. We have a Soulogy Network Instagram that was established about 2 months ago by our beautiful sister team member Delia Flores. So it may have been her. We were in a transition. We had Leilani was doing the scheduling, uh, and during that interim, and so I don't know how but it doesn't matter. That what matters is, and which is really reflective of all of our journeys. It doesn't matter how we got here. It just matters that we're here.
Yeah.
And, so what I find interesting is, watching the field over, the whatever, how long it's been. Well, I can count the shows, about 2,400 shows now
Wow.
of this particular show. And watching the evolution, of attachment, and getting back to what I just said about it doesn't matter how we got here. These connections we have, the communion that we have with the different faces of the universe and the past life memories. They're so powerful, and they had such a different meaning 6 months ago and a year ago and a year and a half and 2 years and 5 years ago. They had a different place of prominence, and they'll always have prominence. But it's like we're getting to a point now where no stone will be left unturned. And just as we released our traumas and the illusion of our identity that they had over us, it's also I'm seeing it starting to affect us with those higher dimensional aspects that we have to let go of as well, because they are not who we are in this present state. We are who we are. You're
Yeah.
Taylor, I'm Todd.
Yeah.
I'm only going to be Todd once, and you're only going to be Taylor once, as far as we know.
Yeah.
We may live in perpetuity, like all the multidimensional aspects, but it's an interesting proposition, for the ego and for the wounded child and for the emerging divine human. You obviously have been in the arena for quite some time to have that many videos on Instagram. What are your views on that? Are you going through anything on a personal level? Are you noticing anything on the collective level? I mean, where are we at today? Because the terrain is literally changing, and the truth is taking on a higher meaning every single day.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh gosh, do I ever hear ya?
Yeah.
Oh, I've been in the terrain, actually for 44 years, since
Wow.
1976, when I had my nervous breakthrough, as a starseed, and had to it was my way of hatching out of the matrix, I guess, or breaking through. So on one level, I've been around for a long time in New Age circles and groups and workshops, and my own inner dark night of the soul, which really started in 1972. Now I'm 63, and in terms of the terrain of, well, gosh, I've been a writer and a storyteller, performance poet, and I used to do one-woman shows on gender issues. Which, by the way, that's one thing that for me, you really stand out when I'll never forget you saying lines here and there about, I can't believe all these women I'm meeting who've been stashed away in some little room spiritual work for
That would
decades.
fit you too, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Big time.
So, I'm 58. I'll be 59 in December. So you're only, what, 4 years older than me, basically. So 1976, you'd have been 20 years old.
Well, actually, I was 18 going on 19.
18 going on 19.
Yeah.
So you had, and let's just clarify too, because there's many in this community that are listening, or that will listen to the show, that can identify with the, distant, I don't want to, how do you put, well, we're talking psych wards, we're talking incarceration, jail, we're talking, being estranged from your family and society, and all of the, the fodder, the material that created in terms of our, the combustion of our alchemic expansion, the transformations that we've gone through. But if you go back to 1976, and you're talking 44 years, which, by the way, when you said that, there was 44 people on the live.
Wow.
But that was a lot. And I ask these questions because there are a lot of people waking up.
Go for it. I'm an open book.
Right on. Thank you. But there are a lot of people waking up, and they're going through things that may not be in the term of the linear timeline that you went through, or maybe I went through, because I didn't go through
quicker. I would absolutely imagine.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're going, and one of the things is the self-doubt. Like, and I know you can relate to this, where you're getting this information in and you're hearing the guidance, and the guidance doesn't really give you a choice,
Yeah.
and you are obviously questioned in terms of your sanity. But in those moments when you question your own, like, is this real? Am I really getting this information?
Yeah.
Am I crazy? Can you relate to that? And if so, how did you deal with that?
Well, I mean, I can relate to that even now in terms of like being conscious that it's guidance at that time, which I'll go into in a moment, because a lot of people I think are just in that as well. But I can relate to what you just said about, is this guidance? Is this real? And for me, what you're saying about the changing terrain and the changing energy and the changing of truth, for me right now, it's very much Taylor Jane, go in the body, root and ground in your bodily instinct and intuition. And that to me is the real ticket of that inner GPS of the heart, and just feeling it out, plus relaxing and just going with the flow. But I so hear you about, oh yeah. I mean, I went on a Greyhound bus with 2 suitcases to my name and a little under 3,000 to Sedona, Arizona 6 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, like gave up my home, all my furniture, all my possessions, didn't know anyone there, didn't know where I'd live, didn't know what I would do. I'm not that employable. I'm ADHD. I get fired from
ADHD.
that, that from jobs that require multitasking and time efficiency. But I was at a place at that point after how many years being on the path, and is it real, and synchronicity and inner voice and outer synchronicity. And by the way, Carl Jung said one of the best ways to navigate your spiritual journey. By the way, I have a degree in this kind of thing, and I became a spiritual psychotherapist, etc. But bottom line, he said, but I fall through the cracks because I'm very alternative. But bottom line, he said, inner intuition and outer synchronicity. And for years, when I was experimenting with all this,
Inner intuition, outer synchronicity. Yeah.
you
Okay.
got it,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
got
yeah. I like that.
yeah,
It's a good
absolutely.
one.
Because
Yeah.
for years when I was experimenting with synchronicity, I really was jerking myself around with the nose of the outer, like, well, maybe this means that, and da. And at a certain point, I just had to let all the signs and symbols go and just relax back into my body. And I was more flowing with my intuition. And now I watch both inner intuition, outer synchronicity, divine guidance, and of course, I love the former Doreen Virtue's line, acting on inspired guidance.
Yeah. Yeah. Like going to Sedona with 2 suitcases. And I like that though, because I heard another one the other day. This lady, Donna Willard, was on with her husband, um, uh, Glenn Willard, and they'd been together for 30 years.
Wow.
And so they were both connected before they met. But
Wow.
one of the things she said, God, I have to pull that back now. She said, when, because I've seen a lot of people ask, how do you know the guidance you're getting is legit?
Yeah.
And she said something to me that I put right at the level of what you just said, Jung said. She said that it will always be positive, and then the kicker was, and it will leave you with more choices than you had before.
Wow. Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that's legit, But I like this, the inner intuition. So it's almost to me like you've got the inner intuition, and then you're looking for the like frequency in terms of the synchronicity, which I think a
Yeah.
lot of people could attest to here recently.
Absolutely. And again, it took me forever to remember to ask, I invite your assistance. I welcome your support. Show me some signs and symbols. And that's actually how I ended up making the big, huge decision to go to Sedona. Um, was I thought, okay, I felt it in my gut. It happened in outer synchronicity. Then I felt it in here, but still, we need to have a time sometimes. So what I said to my guides and angels was, because we do go in and out, up and down with, well,
Yes.
yeah, no, no, huh. And so I said, okay, guys, look, if this is really serious, and I said, look, we're approaching 60. We ain't 20s anymore.
Yeah.
You freaking nuts. And I'm, not a very left brain, anyway, organized person. So, like I gave what is it, notice on my apartment before, and I'm sure you can relate to this because of your journey, before I even, got my passport happening.
Yeah.
Because I currently live in Canada now, even though I was born in New York. But anyway, I gave it 3 days. I said, all right, now, listen, if you guys are really real about this, then I'm going to
Yeah.
give it 3 days and just hold it in meditation for 3 days. And the first day, I got all this yeah, do it for sure. The second day on the Sunday, because it happened Friday night, Saturday was, oh, yeah, go do it. And synchronicity, inner feeling. Sunday, I started looking around at my possessions. I thought, you crazy? Because
Hmm.
I didn't have a lot of money anyway, and to give it away, I didn't know how I'd ever make it back. And that's when I really started having, second doubts. And then
Hmm.
I woke up at 3 in the morning and I went, okay, I feel awful. This is horrible, because I didn't want to go. And then I just went out and sat on the couch. I put my hands and I went, feel for when it feels relief. Feel, like Abraham Hicks says, feel for when you feel relief. And the minute I went, okay, I'll go, my whole body relaxed. And I went, okay, that's it. You're going.
That's crazy. It really is. What? So what? Now you mentioned in '76 or thereabouts, or
Yeah.
there shortly
Yeah.
thereafter, you got a download. You got your download or whatever, or your initial download, and it did it have a galactic frequency to it? I mean,
Are you kidding? In 1996, I was an overprotected, bless her heart, of my mother. I was the only child of a single mother who had a lot of fears and phobias and was very loving, but also very fearful and controlling. And I had been completely sheltered, and I basically had gone to live with my dad. And that, anyway, it was, so I had a dark night of the soul I went to live with my dad when I was 14, just what is it, 15? What? No, 14 going on 15. And so I was really young, 14 going on 15. And I remember, I, without going into all the details, I felt this tremendous guilt. And I kind of did it for my dad. I was afraid he'd commit suicide if I didn't go live with them. So I said I'd live with them. And there I am, grade 10 or whatever it was, and our grade, whatever it was, 9. And I remember, like, my spirit just left my body. And I later, years, decades later, had a shamanic, healing on that. But bottom line, I just was a zombie for about 4 years. Like from 14 to 18, I was a zombie. I was an A student. I was smiling. I was B student, but nobody would have known a thing. And so eventually, after 2 years, I got back to my mother for grade 11 and 12, but I was gone by that time. I felt guilty for leaving her. I felt guilty for leaving him. I was just Miss Guilt, completely unconscious, totally out of no sense of myself at all. And then I just lay down in the bed one day. Well, actually, no, the download happened here. Here's how it happened. My mother took us on a trip, which we never had done, all the way to PEI, Prince Edward Island in Canada, from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And I was given a synchronicity of the last family of 9 kids that I'd played with before I left Missouri to go to Canada. And I came alive again. Like, I came alive. My soul re-entered my body, is how it felt.
Hmm.
And then it was like click. And then when I went back to my life, I couldn't do my life. So I was going to grade 13, which they have up here. And I just, I just felt this inner peace, and I just lay down on my bed and I put my hands on my chest, and my mother kind of got alerted and, are you okay? And I went, everything would be okay if I could just disappear. And of course, she freaked out. I got driven to the psych ward. Fortunately, in my case, they didn't keep me. He gave me 4 Valium, or I only took 4 Valium. In those days, it was Valium. And that calmed my beta brain down enough that I could connect, I guess, to alpha. And then I felt like my soul could now reach me consciously. And it went, hi. Two
Wow.
things. Don't take another pill and get away from the television.
Wow.
And those were the 2 specific orders. And what on earth in me listened? And I didn't take another pill. and I got away from the television. And then I was suicidal because TV was my world. But for
Yeah.
some reason, I wouldn't go back. It was just bang. And then thank God I got referred to a woman who turned out to be spiritual, who was an art therapist, psychologist. She starts, and that's when I started. She goes, why not? Because I was filled with this society and the human billboards. It's not for humans, and it's so sexist, and it's so against everyone, men and women, and on and on. And she goes, why don't you write your thoughts
Yeah.
down? I tell you, I had a clipboard on the bus. I wouldn't go anywhere without a pencil and a paper, and that's kind of how I was my lifeline. And then
Birth of an artistic genius. All
there
the
you go.
paradoxes, man. It's like, it's like you fall on a pile of poo and come out with a bucket of gold.
Yeah.
Um, so was there a
Oh, I'm so sorry. This is
no,
crazy.
no, go ahead.
But
I'm sorry.
there's somebody at the door who's
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
one
cool.
one sec. So I'll be right back.
Right on, no problem. No problem. Look at that angel, by the way. That's pretty cool, isn't it? So I think just as a quick note, there's a lot of powerful energy going down. Really is, and it hasn't really stopped for the last 10 days. I'm certain that this is our second show, Soul Speaks 5D today. We don't have another one scheduled, but we are going to come back on, and I would say 2-3 hours after this show.
Okay.
Was there a galactic or divine essence persona behind that voice that told you don't take any more pills and turn the damn TV off?
Do you know what's really weird? I'm clairsentient.
Hmm.
I mean, now, like that was in 76. Then in 92, I read ET 101, The Cosmic Instruction Manual by Diana Lupe. And suddenly, all of my searching, my degree in religious studies and philosophy, all my feminist goddess stuff, all my Buddhist stuff, all my shamanic native medicine woman, everything that I'd searched. And when I read ET 101, after 14 years of searching or whatever that was, 16 years of searching, I exhaled a sigh of relief and I was home.
Wow.
And that was that. And then from that point
Now,
on,
when you say you were home, was it that the point where you started to see or feel the galactic persona?
probably, yeah. I mean, one thing they say, we not only stand behind our book, we stand beside you as you read it.
That reminds me of my wake up night. It was your world's going to turn upside down tomorrow, because I went on the streets, and
Wow.
and it was don't worry, you will never be alone and you will never be forsaken. It's so amazing how, like you with the don't take any more pills, turn the TV off, they're just like little sound bites of this profound, simple, innate knowing, guidance, wisdom, right? And you follow it. So, like, let's say that on the linear timeline, it makes up 0.01% of your experience, and the rest of the 99.99, you're dealing with the human condition in yourself and others.
Good
Yet
point.
it still comes through, and you don't let go. Why,
Yeah.
why would you say, I mean, to people,
Yeah.
especially even now, because obviously there's more support
Yeah.
out there now, but
Yeah.
how did you maintain? Like, did you ever just say, F it, I'm out of here? I'm not going to do this. I'm going to go be a normal person.
Oh my goodness. Well, that happened. Believe me, it's been a long and colorful journey.
Yeah.
And that happened when I lost my job. I lost my partner. I had a nest egg that was fast going down. I graduated from spiritual psychotherapy school, from what is kind of Canada's Hogwarts. And
Really?
I but you're an alternative therapist, you're not perceived value by the mainstream, you're not validated, you're not legitimized, and so you have to promote your own business, which for me, ADHD was. So I was under tremendous stress and pressure, and I couldn't make a living at it. I had the nest egg, and I was in fear and stress nonstop for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And even now, I gotta say, like now I'm on disability pension for ADHD. Thank God, thanks Spirit.
Attuned. What is that? What's that one? Attuned direct. Wait, attune AD. Attune direct to a higher dimension, right?
Well, there
Something
you
like
go.
that. Thank you.
That I love it. I'll
Yeah.
take it. Um,
Um,
so when I wanted to, I literally I can remember Todd. Because, see, here's the thing. I was so out there and I was very sheltered by my mother, and I was a starving artist. And then I would live in different little rooms on nothing. And then I was on social assistance a lot. I always think I'm
yeah.
going to give back to, and I'd pray and I'd affirm and I'd do whatever. I did my art. The art crashed and burned, all this. And then I finally got a regular, real job as a midnight switchboard operator and operation.
To be a physical replica of what you are in the energetic field.
Oh, hey, yeah. Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, well, you're connecting to all these, different aspects, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah. I always, yeah. So at a mental health hospital, at a mental
right
health
on.
addiction hospital, right next to the lockdown ward, and yada yada. So, but then what? Okay, so wait a minute. Okay, so I think that happened. I was there for 5 years because it introduced me to the world. Because by that time, my frequency was so high, and we're now
Yeah.
talking 2000 and 2001.
Okay.
That happened, and it was early 40s, and my frequency was so high, and my language, nobody understood me, nobody got me. Thank God I was on nights, so nobody really saw me. But still, occasionally they rotated shifts, and I learned about the world. But then after 5 years, I really hate to admit it, but you know what? Even though I never gave up my prayers, when I got let go, well, I kind of let myself go. It's a long story. But anyway, I just couldn't work anymore. I had a wrist injury and they wanted me to go back at nights, and I didn't because I'd just gone on evenings. Anyway, I I just lost all faith. It was like I didn't think, oh, Spirit, you'll take care of me. I'm okay.
Yeah.
I've always been okay. I'll deal with it. I'll land on my feet. And I just went through stress and hell, and oh my goodness. So during that period of big self-doubt and being back in the matrix brain pretty well, I would throw myself on the couch and get angry at God and cry and get mad, and and then I basically got beaten to a pulp. So they say, well, you stop banging your head on the wall when
Yeah.
it hurts more
You
than
stop beating a dead horse when you realize you're the horse you're beating.
yeah. And so then I finally got to a place like it just got beaten out of me where I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, you know what? All right, if I have to go on welfare and eat cat food,
Yeah.
so be it. But nothing is worth this stress.
Yeah.
And then things
So,
got magical again.
and I think that's an important thing because I've talked about it over the years, since I came out in 2011. There's been many times I've had to come to Jesus meeting with the universe along the path. The universe, and I used to say this quite, I don't want people to think bad about me, but it's just the way I speak. But I would refer to the universe with what people might consider derogatory terms as the universe would refer to me that way, But it was more of a term of endearment but I guess what I'm trying to say, though, is for those who have those moments even now,
Yeah.
whether you've been up for, reawoken for 5 years, 10 years, 5 months, whatever the case is, you're not alone. These are also, I don't know how, I'd love to get your perspective on this, but these, for me, what I found was when I had these meetings with the universe, which were bit sessions, and they were screaming and hollering, and I'm busting my butt, and I'm listening to the guidance, and where's the abundance, and why don't I have a place to sleep tonight, or whatever the case is. There was such a raw emotion in that seemed to bring or clear out the line of communication coming from me, who, obviously we are both the receiver and the transmitter, right?
Yeah.
But I would always get a lift afterwards. There would always be that
Yeah.
external synchronicity that would come. And I eventually got to the point where I was like, do I have to go through this process and get, in tears and get angry? Do I have to? And then I was told, no, you don't. you can take those emotions, instead of letting them build up and exploding as they're coming in, they're pliable, start shaping them like Play-Doh and filling them up, and then sending them up through the machinery of the alchemic, you know, internal alchemic, to create transformation. Did you find that when you had these situations that you got a lift out of that mano y mano with the universe?
Wow. I loved everything you just said, by the way. I think the raw emotion does clear the channel. For me, it was just, yeah, when I just finally hit the wall. Like, I had an old boyfriend who used to say, oh, I'm the Basset Hound and you're the Jack Russell Terrier. And every once in a while, the Jack Russell Terrier hits the wall. And just, so for me, when I would hit the wall, then it would flow more, and I became more calm and relaxed. Like in
Yeah.
my chart, I'm super
Yeah.
fire, and I have to kind of hit the wall. But still, it's like the waves keep coming in the heroic journey of the soul.
Yeah, no, it's like you wake up the next day. I've said this many times, when I was on the streets and they'd say, Ascension's a scale of 1 to 10. And then I'd say, okay. And I'd go to bed and I'd say, how did I do today? And they'd say, oh, you got to 9, 9.5. You did a great job today. And then I wake up the next morning and now the 10 is a 1 and there's a new scale of 1 to 10. So it's like,
wow.
You know what I mean?
Crash course. Oh, right. You're incredible. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, everyone in your position is incredible. Like, that's crash course. Whoa.
Yeah. Well, I think we're all having our feet put to the fire now. It's like there's been so much built into our conditioning. There's been such a comparison-esque type of frequency. Like, oh my God, she can do that. Oh my God, he can do that. And it's even in the light worker community, which has really been an interesting dynamic over this year, because you've watched this student teacher frequency kind of convert to self-empowerment frequency, and you see the beauty of it and you see the chaos of it, and it's just really kind of interesting. But what I was going to say is that, like, it looks like now it's all kind of merging and everybody's coming down to an even playing field, which is the feet to the fire. And we're going to squeeze it all out of you, and you can let go or be dragged. And here we are trying to figure out, we can't force it. How do you flow with it? And have you seen, you've been doing this for a long time. Have you seen, or is it just me who hasn't been as long as you? Has there been a real change in the dynamics in 2020 in terms of our personal evolution and what is reality and what is truth and what, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Are you kidding? I'm just, just a turn of phrase. I absolutely, with the astrology for one, right? And the situation of having more people at home and thankfully, finally having, I know it's rough too, very much so for many, but, finally kind of having a monastic breathing space, so to speak, a sanctuary, or where the soul, like in my neighborhood, everyone's walking all the time because they can't constant. So the distraction's gone down and the pressure's gone up. But also, purportedly, the light codes are hitting like crazy. I can sure feel that when I say my prayers and affirmations, bigger. It's up and down. I remember being in Sedona one time, and this young guy at Whole Foods went, "Oh, Taylor, how you doing?" And I said, "Oh, up and down and all around, Earth School." And, and he goes, "I know. Life is like a roller coaster. Sometimes you just have to throw up your arms and scream."
You see that? I think it's on TikTok, or it's on Facebook videos. I guess probably YouTube, where they go up into that ride where I don't know what it's called, but they take you up, two people, and you're in these chairs side by side, and they take you up and they drop you at like G-force. And some people pass out, and some people, start crying. But that's what it reminds me of. And there's been a lot of that lately. And it's so weird, because it used to be we would get these light influxes and then you'd have like a 2 week integration period, and then 2 weeks, 2 weeks or a week of bliss, and then you get into that spot of like, oh wow, I got this shift, man, I got
Yeah,
this down, and then
yeah.
the next one comes in. But now it's like it could be 2 hours.
I know.
Your integration period's 2 hours or a day or two
Yeah.
days, and then
Yep.
another one comes slamming in, and of course it's all perfect and it's all good, and that's not a cliche, but you
Yeah.
do feel it in your physical body, in your mental, sometimes, and emotional.
Yeah. Big time. Big time. And it can be, you can kind of feel bipolar. Like for a while,
Hmm.
they're pretty bipolar. Now things, like you say, it's evening out a bit. Because I think a lot of what we've been going through, when I know the astrology, because I'm a big listener to astrology. Christopher Witecki, his series Joy has been invaluable, and Leo King, David Palmer. But basically, the astrology is such that we have been purging former lifetimes, purging everything out of the dark ages. And so, for those of us who have a hand on the wheel and an eye on the road, it's very much about, okay, how am I learning and growing today, and what am I, and there's so many spiritual services out there now to help guide us and direct us, give us a roadmap. So if you're proactively working your program, wow, like in my case, it's been around the whole relationship and lifetimes of codependency and yada yada, and bam, synchronicity, bam, how does it feel, what are you learning, why isn't it working? Yesterday, Leo King put out a thing. I love this. I put it on my Instagram. Basically, he said, do not forget the subtle and beautiful vibes that are unquestionable.
Yeah.
For the dramatic questions, you can solve them by asking spirit what works, what doesn't. Simple.
Yeah.
What works, what doesn't.
Yeah. And when you don't know, don't do anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like that's been a big one for me, and maybe it's part of the masculine programming on a typical man in American society. Let's just put it that way. The alpha male, the competitor,
Sure.
and that is like you got to you got to do something.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so you get a download, and you're like, okay, I got to go do this now.
Yeah.
Like
I
they'd show me like 2 years ago, Soulogy, go create a network, go create the website. Which 2 years later, we're just now on the brink of it. But so many times I would come out and go, "We're going to do this. We're going to do it now." But I started to understand that that's not how this higher frequency or higher dimensional energy works. There is no force. There is no greater than God. You allow it to occur in whatever way the universe sees fit while you work in unison with it. You know what I mean? And that whatever it is something far greater than you could imagine for yourself
Oh my
if
goodness.
you would just get the hell out of the way, right? You know what I mean?
That is such an important point. And I think one of my main prayers that I say, and again, anyone can choose whatever deity they choose. For me, I say every day, I say, thank you, Archangel Michael, for guiding and protecting my mission. I'm on a need to know basis,
Yeah.
enjoying my now.
Yeah.
Small steps, patience, and savoring the present build the mighty oak. And the mighty oak to me is joy in the now. It's like Abraham
Yeah.
Hicks says, none of us want anything, but we think it's going to make us feel good. So my job is, how can I feel good right here, right now? Sure, I've got all these projects I would love to come to fruition and potential, and we love that, and it's blah blah. But that's not true joy. I mean, how many people say, well, when I get there and da da da. Anyway, the other thing is, one of my dreams crashed and burned as a performance artist. I had a band at the time, at one point, very briefly. Couldn't handle bars, didn't do drugs, on and on, whatever. Didn't do alcohol, didn't have money for it, thank God. But bottom line, I then was like, I had to get cancer. And basically, when I got cancer, but I was really into spirit, and I went, Spirit, okay, if you got me in for a transfer, so be it. But if I have anything to say about it, I say yes to life. And Spirit said, yeah, you went on autopilot when you lost your 3D worldly goals. And now you need to renew your yes to life. Do you say yes to life? And I said yes. And so then I got into the heroic journey of the soul as my reason for being, my raison d'etre. And then my big thing became, I'm here to hold a high vibration for the planet, so that no matter what happens, no matter what gets taken away from me, my job is joy to the best of my ability, which includes embracing a mad day, a sad day, a fear day.
Yeah.
Whatever get joy is not happiness. Joy is just relief and a sense of peace with oneself.
Yeah, yeah, and what you said about Hicks earlier, such an important, because I mean we have spent our life questioning ourselves, judging ourselves, second guessing, and there's such a huge expansion in relation to feeling what you're feeling. And you're right. One of the things I noticed too is the definitions of words are changing as the days go by. They're becoming more expansive and more multidimensional, multifaceted. And but to sit with your feelings, be it angry, sad, confused, uh, and I've not heard anyone say this. Thank you very much. But that is joy. Like
Oh,
it's not joy like from the human, like for instance, like as a comparison, like earth love. Like you meet, we saw these people with the twin flame thing, right?
yeah.
I'm in a partnership 5 years, and we don't adhere to that word
Oh,
because
I
of
do,
the
by
connotations
the
that
way.
go with it. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, I met my partner, so now everything is fluffy love and light. Well, it's not fluffy love and light. It's work. But getting back to what I was saying is, in regard to the other thing, where when you sit with your feelings, which I only learned in late 2018 after what 7 years on the path, there's something that happens. There is a chemical, um, you know, something happens, a chemical change. I don't know, whatever you want to call it now, chemic transformation. There's something that happens when you let go and say, okay, I'm angry. I'm going to be angry. And
Yeah.
you take everybody out of it and you're like, okay. It's almost like you have a really good cry. And then when you're done crying, you're like, okay, well, like, okay, I'm fine now. Like it's
Yeah.
weird. It's a weird kind of dynamic.
Well, when you think of it, it's like if we do that with a kid, and really, it's like to me, the people who really become spiritually enlightened, I'm, being like it's not about competition or spiritual ego or spiritual competition, but just it's the people who have a really good, loving, conscious relationship with their inner child.
Yeah, of
It's
course.
totally there and a major aspect of self in the human journey. We may be spirits, having a human experience. Well, guess what? We got to have the human experience. And a big part of that for the joy and the joie de vivre is the inner child needs to be happy. Well, guess what? Kids, they cry and then it's over.
Yeah,
So again, if I can say, okay, love, I hear you. Why are you sad?
yeah,
You're sad. And believe me, that was kind of my biggest learning quite recently was
really.
yeah, because I'm all air. Like I got 6 planets in Libra. Heaven help me. I have one planet in Earth in my whole chart, one planet in water. And so I'd be really good at doing spiritual bypass, stuffing my feelings. And whether you're screaming out your feelings or whether you're like screaming at others is what I'm thinking of, or you're stuffing them, screaming and stuffing, they're still avoiding the feeling, but to really be with in a contemplative way with the feeling, not in a victim mode, but in a survivor mode of, okay, how is this meant to strengthen and empower me? This circumstance, experience, relationship, this feeling. How is this my perfect teacher right now? How is this? My medicine woman used to say, this is perfect. We just need to figure out how.
And now the energy is like you don't even have time to figure it out. You just know it is. You like I don't know, the human part of us, the need to understand. I don't know if it will ever go away, but now it's like, okay, the influx comes in, and you're like, oh my God, I got to go write this down, or I got to go do a video. I got to, before I forget. And by the time you even think about it, it's gone,
I know it.
and they're like, okay, well, at least my team, or whatever you want to call that, the you, me, we, and it will come in and be like, look, you just need to understand whenever you need it, it'll be there. It is now embodied within you, which is a big deal because our past our, I guess, our early evolution is about connecting to that akashic field and connecting with what we're looking for, what's looking for us. And now we start to embody it and we're carrying it with us, which is a totally different thing to me, you know? But I love what you said too about the feelings. Like, I do think emotions are, when I look at the universal family, the different species and hybrids and so on, and what we represent here, the emotions are a unique part of us. And so where the emotions have been, uh, you know, ego's friend and beat the hell out of us, we're now in a place where we're utilizing that emotional intensity and which is so rooted in the heart, and using it for transformation. And I really believe that's a big part, if not the biggest part, of what we're offering to universal family in terms of them obtaining code from us, like cosmically living vicariously through us, because we're teaching them as much as they're teaching us. And
Absolutely. And Matthias Di Stefano in his initiation series on Gaia TV, which to me was like God or the universe coming down and going, okay, I'll tell you. All right, here's what's going on. And anyway, and by the way, I shouldn't say I completely debunked the term twin flame. I mean, for some, who knows what they're experiencing, whatever. But bottom line, with the emotions, he says it's many people, it's about descension, not only ascension. It's about integration. It's about integrated and aligned emotion. Our emotions are there to inform us.
Yeah.
My gosh, like I had no boundaries for decades and got creamed again and again as this naive, well-meaning, loving starseed person, until I had to go, hey, that sadness, Taylor, that fear, that sense something's not quite right, that anger, that needs to be honored. It needs to be processed. It needs to be felt. And, the goal of psychotherapy is to think and feel and think at the same time. That's
Yeah.
of the hybridness of the human, is to become that spiritual, emotional, that
That's right.
ascension embodied.
That's right. And it's it's like I remember being in 8th grade, and you know how when you're, for some, because I know adolescence has been tough on some people. For me, it was one of those moments where everything is perfect. I got the perfect girlfriend. I'm playing basketball and I'm good, and the grades are good, and everything's good. And I remember walking down the hall and hearing the words. One of the first times I can really remember hearing an audible, and it said, "You are the center of the universe." You were at that point. And I thought, wow, that's weird. But I get it now, because we are macro, micro, the center. So if we are the center, then the center is the center. That's pure oneness.
Yeah.
That means here we are in this dense duality. And if we have a job, or let's say if we have a potential, it's realizing how much can we bring to the center: physical, non-physical, masculine, feminine, but other things like these superficial things that are seemingly the points of separation, when they're actually just layers above are the work that we have left to do in terms of bringing physical, non-physical, or masculine to feminine. And I'm talking about, certainly things in the headlines today. So for you, and you being so connected to the multidimensionality and waking up so early and dealing with all that at a human level, I love what you said about, when you got the cancer and you said, okay, universe, you're ready to transfer me to the next incarnation, but I want to be here. The human is the decision maker. The human is the hero. Like, I mean, this is what I see really happening now, is that here we've been trying to get away from this aspect of us that we really should know best, but didn't know at all. And now we're starting to realize, hey, I have dominion over my field, and my field is supported by this multidimensionality. I mean, you after all you've been through, you know, where does the human aspect stand right now with you?
Well, one thing I was going to say is we're not responsible for our feelings. We're responsible for what we do with our feelings. And if we can see them as sacred um, beingnesses, really, that are there to teach us. Like I like saying, why am I creating this situation, circumstance, relationship? How is this meant to strengthen and empower me? How is this my perfect teacher? How is this for me and not against me? And there was something you said there that about the human thing. I was going to jump in there anyway. Oh dear, where?
It's okay. This is
That's
how it goes.
okay.
This is our 3D memory leaving. But I think what you're saying is this. If and let me know or add to it or
Sure.
subtract. This is my gift. One of my gifts is translation, right? I mean, so what you're saying is that if you look at
Oh,
a
I know.
download
Yeah.
or a droplet of sacred wisdom that's infused upon you through a past life memory or whatever that code is and however it comes in, that is invaluable. That is sacred. That is the God substance, let's just say. But at the same time, these emotions that you're talking about, these feelings, all of this stuff that we think is very humanesque and very distant from these fantastic things that we connect to and experience are actually on the same level. I mean, we are an equal part. The human aspects are and experiences, feelings and emotions and all that is equally the goddess substance as well.
Well, think about it. It's the ultimate of self mastery. I mean, many beings don't want to come here at all because they just are afraid. They just couldn't handle it, and they don't want to get stuck on the wheel of karma and la 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 whatever. But if there's been a lot of new age deception, there's been a lot of infiltration into
Yeah.
the new age, the spiritual communities, and so they would put out things like, "Oh, law of attraction." You know, that's a whole other issue. But
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I can pick it up telepathically.
with feelings, there was this sense of like huge spiritual bypass, I believe, was promoted um,
Yeah.
in order to and the twin flame thing in many respects, not
Yeah.
saying people aren't whatever, but bottom line, it's been deployed as a way of getting light workers off path and out of the sacred union of the inner beloved and with one's feelings, embracing all aspects of self. Can you imagine? Like some beings think, wow, if you can handle earth and combine the spiritual with the human, holy schmoly. Like that's pretty damn masterful.
Yeah, it's you're really good. Yeah, so like those contorted uh labels that do actually have, as all things I guess do, a pure meaning, a pure truthful meaning. Um they the programming disempowers. In other words, we're so conditioned to externally love, externally serve. Everything is externally blame.
Yeah.
That if you look at, and that's a great example, the twin flame false programming. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
It's disempowering. Oh, I met this person. Now my problems are over, and everything's fluffy love and light.
And
You
or I'll
know.
put up with any abuse because it's all meant to be and they're the
Yeah.
runner and I'm the
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
and yada yada.
Yeah. Yeah. The wishful thinking. The wishful thinking syndrome. Okay, it's going to be okay tomorrow. They were nice to me tonight. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, this is
I
and this go
know.
and this go see this goes for. I wrote a piece the other day. I was
Yeah.
like, the most dangerous cognitive dissonance is the cognitive dissonance within yourself.
Oh yeah,
You
it's
know what
all
I mean?
about yourself.
You know what I'm saying? Like
It's
you're
all about you. It's all
exactly
about
right.
us. Like that when they say you are everything and everything is you on one level in the
Yeah,
holographic university or
yeah,
academy, it really is. That's why I love Christopher Witecki's service of Serious
mm,
Joy, which is always saying it's about your relationship with yourself. It's about your relationship with your feelings. He always is taking it from out there
yeah,
to hey, self mastery,
yeah.
self
Um,
responsibility.
yeah, it is such a and I have a perspective, you know, communing every night with my wife. We put our hands together, and the evolution of that, I think, is a great example, because I believe, or I've always been told, as the individual goes, so goes the collective. Now, you could say the same thing about a couple or a group or a triad, you know. So
Yeah.
if I look back at the early days of our communion, it was externally dimensional, to include apparitions in the room,
Wow.
okay, and many other things.
Wow.
And I remember about 6 months ago, and we were going through visitations and the whole nine yards, and we would have the typical integration and expansion, and then you think you're real clever, right? And I remember saying to her, "You remember when I met you 5 years ago, and I convinced you to talk to me on the phone first day." And I said, because I started having these downloads immediately as I was talking to her, which had only had that applied to me. Now I'm having them with another person, and I said, all I can tell you is I don't understand this, but I see this planet, and it's purple and green, has unicorns and all these beautiful animals and these streams, and there's a castle. I don't know what that means. So anyway, fast forward to a few months ago, I came out of one of these expansions thinking I was clever and I was like knew it all. And I said, you know what? I bet they're going to start appearing like, they've been translucent. I bet they're going to start appearing physically, like, because we're so elevated. And she said, no, they're not going to do that. And I said, what do you mean? She said, it's all us. It's going to be us we're seeing. And I thought, ooh, now that's one of those things you get, like when you get upstairs, when you get something from upstairs, and you're like, okay, I don't know what the hell that means, but I know it's right. So now what's happening is in the field that is the bedroom, let's just say, as we lay side by side, it's not just that it's all me. It's actually the all me's become bigger in the physicality, right? So like everything she's feeling, I'm feeling. Like
Mm,
it's getting like this thing happening, and I think this is another contribution we're making
yeah.
to the universal family, and that is that we're literally bringing into the flesh and bone
Yeah.
our what we have in dimension, or you might say in dream state,
Yeah.
and all that goes with it. So I fully expect to be teleporting, bilocating.
Yeah.
I fully expect the telekinesis, let's have, dinner on Venus tonight, whatever the case is. I think we're actually bringing that into the fold now. What are
That
your
is
thoughts on that
right.
after all you've been through? Do you think that we're capable of that? And if so, when do you think that could happen?
I think you're absolutely capable of that, and I have no idea when it will happen, although a lot's going to shake and rock and roll, from my understanding, till 2024, 2025, like more and more multidimensional experiences. And of course, there's that whole idea of the Earth's shifting dimensions and splitting, so to speak, and the whole idea of Dolores Cannon and the three waves of volunteers and all that, the two Earths. Bottom line, I think it's about being in our heart and our body and
Yeah.
enjoy in the now, yada yada. That's all that really matters, and just let it unfold. One thing I wanted to say though, because I did hear that awesome interview with you and your partner a while back, and I took in every word. And thank you so much for sharing you guys' journey. Um, See what you're doing and who you guys are, from my perspective, who you two are. You are what a lot of people would call a twin flame experience. And here's where I'm coming from with that. Meaning, I have heard that twin flames are key holders
Yeah.
together, but they only, here's the thing though, right? I met my twin flame, I think, 5 years ago in Sedona, and we were just in completely forget it
Yeah.
places, which I think often happens. So when it's as grounded as it is for you too, meaning both of you, and forgive me, your wife's name?
Morgan.
Morgan,
Morgan.
yes. So Morgan especially had done all this work to be very grounded in practical emotion and reality, and not into flu la la codependency, crazy romance, radio that's programmed us for years. And so because you're both so grounded and honoring, like I think you both totally come from, hey, you know what? Like if it doesn't work, all of a sudden it doesn't work. Like no, neither self is going to, oh, I'll never forget you, or oh God. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
we never forget each other, but it's not like I'm going to sacrifice myself for you, or
Mhm.
let it rent space out of my now and my sovereignty as a whole being about you. So yeah, I just wanted to.
That's good. That's a good point, and I think it can go beyond couples too. And that is
Oh
that,
yeah,
like your situation with the partner in Sedona, so many connections are made that can't be sustained in the physical realm,
you got that.
but it doesn't take anything away from
No,
the connection. It doesn't take anything away from it, regardless of
yeah,
the linear timeline, be it a day or a year or whatever. Uh, I think that's important. But I do also think that there is a potential that we have, going back to what I was saying earlier, to physicalize to the best of our abilities, especially where two or more gather, uh, in this series of incarnations on the earth. There is no,
absolutely.
like it was shown to me the other day. It's just a matter of how far you choose to take it. It doesn't. There is no right or wrong. It's just a matter of, here's the field of potential. How far do you want to take it without judgment? Because, like you said, there's souls there, there's souls that don't want to have anything to do with Earth, you know. And
Yeah,
I actually think that there's quite a few souls that we might call first wavers or star seeds that didn't want to come here,
oh
but
yeah.
came here out of their dedication to service to self, service to others, and service to the universe,
Mhm.
being one key stroke.
Yeah,
And I believe my wife was probably one of them. You
yeah,
know, and I say that from a little bit of dimensional inside information that I've received.
yeah.
Uh, so I'm real happy that she did come. Otherwise, I'd probably be at hell in a handbasket, sleeping in the gutter still. So now you do poetry. You do a lot of things, actually. I know that. Before we get out of here, I want to give you a few minutes, whatever you want to take, to share anything that you want to share. If you want to do a blessing, if you want to educate us a little bit on the astrology in the current moment, if you want to recite something or whatever you want to do. If you want to sing, go ahead and do that. If you want to
Yeah,
dance, just move the camera back so we
yeah,
can see you.
yeah. Yeah, because before we started, I did say I'd have to go in about 10 minutes now. But I one thing I wanted to share is I made a video yesterday on my Instagram, and I have an Instagram under my name, Taylor Jane Green. And I was listening to the music, and it was, gonna go to the chapel and get married, and I'll never feel lonely again. Anyway, and then I said, my mother, after her divorce, she said, if I'm going to feel lonely, I'd rather be alone. And I just had to get that in somewhere. But basically, the other thing I wanted to get in about the whole meeting a twin flame in 2015, and a lot of the synchronicity and the inner feelings, and yet it just not connecting. Um, uh, I remember going to the Atlantis Center and lying on that bed they have and saying, "Who is he?" And what came through strong and clear was, "He is your lover of light." And on the inner planes or whatever. However, to me, because we have all those songs on the radio, "If I Can't Live Without You," and "Without You I'm Nothing," then we can tend to get super romanticized about everything, and
Yeah,
forget that the true romance, whether via the twin flame or not, or a soulmate, or being single, I'm single, is the inner beloved.
yeah,
That
of
that's
course.
the real connection, because we are, like John Bradshaw, family systems, we are the only person we will never lose or leave.
True.
We come in alone, we go out alone
That's
on
right.
one. And that's so important. And it took me forever to kind of climb my way up till I'm 63, basically, to especially being six planets in Libra, which is the house of relationship and marriage, to get to the point of joy and fulfillment within. Sure, I'm open. I could meet somebody, yada
Yeah.
yada. But and I get hit on constantly on Instagram, whatever. I mean, who doesn't? But um,
Yeah.
so that's one thing I wanted to. I mean, it's half the time crime racket trying to get money out of people. But they pretend they're somebody, and then next thing you know, they're saying, I could use some extra money, honey.
Yeah.
um, but anyway, just it's really. What else
Well,
do I want to share? I want to share that I do have an Instagram under my name, and I do have a website, taylorjanegreen.org, and it's know me on the end of green. Um, but also with Swan, I have this Swan project that I started, and now you want to talk download. In 1983, this vision of this woman with long red hair, and she wore black, and I used to dress up as her, and I did one woman shows, and I had a band and whatever. But basically, this archetypal character on my inner landscape, my muse, whoever. um, and here I am living kind of like a monk and a poet. In those days, I had studs and no hair. I wore all black, your typical Toronto artist. I shouldn't say typical, but anyway. um, and so she is about the mystical and the mundane. She was a waitress at a diner on a road in Arizona with the red clay and the blue hills. And she uses completely simple imagery to speak about the extraordinary in the ordinary, the mystical in the mundane, which I guess gets back to my main point before about, you know, learning to cultivate and purge through all the negative crazy programming to how can I be joyous and feel fully sensual and alive and embodied without a partner or without a this or without a that, and kind of making love to spirit. And okay, I trust I'll always land on my feet. I'm still kind of in that zone very much. So the dreams crashed and burned. I was completely alienated. It was the biggest suffering in my entire life. I've never been married. I've never had children. This was my gift, my baby. And it took years. And then actually it was a year ago, spring. I finally, it didn't hurt so much that somebody said, "Hey, get up on stage at a coffee house." So I started doing Swan again. I'd thrown it all out. It was so painful. I'd thrown it all out. I didn't even have it anymore. I had some I could remember, and the response was phenomenal. It was like, my God, I felt transported, or the ceiling became the floor, or the floor became the ceiling, or I'm transfixed, or I want to hear more. I've never heard anything about more like that, yada yada. So now, years ago, a psychic had told me, when you're doing your performance art, the large black African male shaman of your past life, who was head and shoulders above everybody, he's a part of that. Your soul didn't completely dissolve that personality for this life, and then I would have people come up to me and go, there's a large black African male with bracelets on his thigh standing behind you like this,
yeah.
and so anyway, I just given up. I felt like a complete failure for years. And then it's back. And now, of course, I find you can't make money at music anymore because of the corporate situation with Spotify, whatever, la da da. But bottom line, I just want Swan to be out there and soothe and heal, and bottom line, activate frequency and remembrance through simple imagery. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm working on right now.
That's and yeah, and well, there's always that other thing too, the divine timing, and
Yeah.
here we go again with the downloads. You get the download, and you're like, okay, I got to go do this now.
Yeah.
And then you realize, I'll give you a quick example because I know you got to go. You're
Yeah.
talking Sedona. I go to Sedona end of 2018. Now Morgan and I have come together twice. Visa, she has to go home. We had a sacred union ceremony. I'm a hobo, homeless, and I'm trying to find a way to make all this come together and do all that typical thing, right? Plenty of come to Jesus meetings with the universe. I end up in Sedona, and they tell me we are going to enhance and amplify your transmissions. So now I'm in a hotel room and running all over Sedona, doing shows right and left, thinking, oh, it's going to blow up and I'm not going to be broke anymore and I'm going to have a place to sleep. And, well, it didn't happen. 2 years later, we go back last month and I saw it all fall into place.
Yeah.
So if you get a download, respect it, honor it. Don't judge it based on the linear timeline. It
Right.
will come, and I just want to put that out there because your story is a testament to that. We just weren't ready for it.
Yeah.
And you had to refine it,
Well,
right?
you got it. In fact, actually, she came to me in 1983, and the last show I ever did with my spoken word with music in the genre of Laurie Anderson. Anyone who knows her, yay! Um, Spoken word artist out of New York City, who's 10 years older than me now. But the last show I ever did, Todd, was December 1993,
Yeah.
and she didn't come back until now. And
Katie bar the door.
pardon?
Katie bar the door now. That's an old Texas saying. That means Pandora's is open,
Yeah.
let it out. It's coming out.
Well, yeah, and very much because I gave it all away, meaning I burned it in bonfire stages of, I was alienated, I was bitter, I was whatever I was trying to get free of the albatross of the swan. It never happened around my neck to live now and joy.
Mm.
And so I basically, because I could remember a few pieces in the response, and then I could tell, oh, okay, I can do it now without huge gaping pain in my gut. I've been panning for gold. Um, to remember, to remember, to remember. So in a way, because you're right, now it's more, I'm older, I'm wiser, I know more what the heck she was trying to say. And so it comes better. And I did send you a recording, even though it's on, I haven't purchased the music. I don't
I
have
saw
it
it.
purchased. Yeah,
I'm going to go back and listen to it. And I'm also, well, I'll get back with you on it.
sure.
I'll get back with you on it. I'd love to collaborate with you down the road, maybe next year, once we get into the
Hey,
year.
yeah.
Uh, you,
Kudos to your spoken word art with music, by the way.
thank you. I um, yeah, I forgot what I was going to say. But no, I was going to say I'm glad you reached out, or we reached out, or however that happened,
Yeah.
and I'm really really happy to have spent some time with you today. I just want to say all blessings to you and yours and your multiple purposes. Keep going. Thank you for your service to humanity. Those and those like you who have been doing this for years and years. Most of them are women, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's just the way it works right now. And
For sure. I could have been a man this time around. You guys are under a
yeah,
whole other pressure and burden of
yeah,
conditioning that kind of
that's
block.
true. It's true. But
Yeah.
it's been distorted patriarchal, and that's
Right.
put each gender in a certain situation. And it only makes sense that as the pendulum swings back to the middle,
Yeah.
that which has been suppressed in all of us
Yes.
is finding a voice, and that's the voice of the goddess, as far as I'm concerned. And I am biased because I believe if God has a gender, God's a woman. So all
I,
right.
I personally, I love it. Thank you,
Mm.
and right back at you. And I personally, I'm even writing a whole piece on this. This one's still in process. I have 9 pieces for the album, and only one that was sent to you. But basically, that woman is a symbol to me of the heart inside all of us, and that's why
Mm.
the Matrix has associated her
Yeah.
with the body, because most of our swear words are about body parts and body functions, and listen to your head, not your heart,
Yeah.
and all that. Yeah.
Right on. Right on. Good stuff,
Kudos
man.
right back to you, by the way. Ditto, ditto, ditto.
Good
And
stuff.
go
Great stuff.
team.
You take care.
All right.
Peace
You too.
out.
All right.